Hello and welcome to Nothing But the Truth. As the Modi government completes 100 days in office, we ask, how should we assess its performance? With me to help answer that question is one of the most important ministers in the government, the Minister of Law, Communications and Information Technology, Ravi Shankar Prasad. Minister, let's start with the Prime Minister before we come to the government. Many people are surprised by the sure-footed and confident way he's begun. Do you think they've underestimated Mr. Modi, or would you also accept that Mr. Modi has surprised you as well?
Those who knew Mr. Modi from Gujarat are never surprised. In 14 years he was the Chief Minister. He did not take a single day holiday. That's Saturday and Sunday included. He is working 14-15 hours a day. We are working too. Yes.
Carry on, please.
And second most important, in one stroke he scraps 80 plus group of ministers. Asks us to take decisions on our own. If need be, take his guidance. Second, the most important, I want Karan, your viewers to know, he is taking presentation of all the departments. He has spent 2.5 hours on IT, 2 hours on telecom, 1.5 hours on postal. A Prime Minister of India devoted so much of time.
You know, the most surprising thing for many people is the adroitness and adeptness with which he's taken to foreign policy. And I'm not just talking about converting his swearing in into a summit. I'm talking about the successful visits to Japan, Bhutan, Nepal. I'm talking about the very skillful handling of the United States. Did you ever believe that foreign affairs would be his forte?
Again, those who knew Mr. Modi knew about it. The decision to invite the leaders, South leaders, was his decision, A.
A personal decision?
Yeah, and B, most important, he has been visiting foreign countries in the past except America. He knew. But what is of great importance, Karan, is how he involved the people of India, the people of Nepal and the people of Bhutan. Therefore, amity relationship and foreign policy also became a big issue of public involvement.
There is, however, one discordant note in foreign affairs, and that's the Prime Minister's abrupt decision to call off the Foreign Secretary level talks with Pakistan for something that Pakistan has been doing for 20 years, talking to Hurriyat. With hindsight, would you accept that was a little impetuous?
Not the least. India after 26th May 2014 is a different India. If the Prime Minister can call Nawaz Sharif and give him respect on his swearing, when it was conveyed clearly, it will not be appreciated if you call Hurriyat, and yet you go ahead. That means you are not serious about negotiation and dialogue.
Except that it was conveyed 15 minutes before Hurriyat were due to arrive.
No, I'm sorry, that is different. It was done earlier as well. Message was conveyed. The point is, Pakistan will have to understand that we want good relationship with Pakistan. But there are certain norms which India will expect.
Let me put it like this. To people from the outside, it looks as if the Prime Minister suddenly contradicted himself, and I'll explain why. It was Mr. Modi who invited Nawaz Sharif. It was Mr. Modi who tweeted warmly about their conversation at dinner. It was Mr. Modi who started by giving the first gift to Mr. Nawaz Sharif's mother and then began that exchange. And finally, it was our Foreign Secretary that took the initiative to set the date for the meeting. And the message conveyed to India at that point was that a new approach to Pakistan was being devised by the Indian government. And then suddenly, Mr. Modi does a U-turn and calls off the talks for something that Pakistan has been doing since 1995. And people say, this is contradictory.
Not the least. When so many initiatives were taken, as you rightly indicated, it was a refreshing new initiative of the Modi government. And therefore, if the Modi government was also very clear that the kind of conventional way in which you have been negotiating with India will not be acceptable, and yet you went ahead, that means you are not serious.
The important thing is, when was it conveyed to the Pakistan government that the conventional way of talking to Hurriyat is no longer acceptable, you must now stop this practice? When was that conveyed to them?
That is a matter of detail. The foreign policy approach of India should not be Pakistan-centric. There are issues of terrorism, issue of fomenting terror from across the border. Those are larger issues. But when you are talking of the success of foreign policy of Mr. Modi, see the larger framework as to how the entire world today is looking towards India.
There's no doubt about that. And I began by, in fact, applauding you for the success. The point I'm making is this, that if the message to Pakistan was not conveyed sufficiently early and sufficiently clearly that talking to Hurriyat would not be acceptable, then from the Pakistani point of view, all Mr. Modi's gestures of inviting Sharif, tweeting after dinner, exchanging gifts, would look as if you were leading Pakistan up the garden path, that you were giving them one set of messages and then you suddenly did a U-turn.
I would only controvert you there. I think they were sufficiently new as to what were the sensitivity of government of India.
All right, Minister, I'll take your word. Pakistan had sufficient notice and, as you say, it was made sufficiently clear. But let me then put this to you. Now that not talking to Hurriyat has become a precondition for talks with Pakistan. Many people feel you've set the bar so high that talks with Pakistan will either not be possible in the foreseeable future or very difficult to schedule.
Well, let us not make India foreign policy initiative Pakistan-centric only. The issue of cross-border terrorism, other things. But what we are saying, every time there is a meeting at that level, Pakistan must have exchange with the Hurriyat as a precondition. That's what we are saying.
That I understand.
That's what we are saying.
But my question...
let me put it, suppose an Indian foreign secretary go, should we make mandatory they should talk to the other movement going on in Sindh or Balochistan?
But you know that Indian ambassadors do talk to people in Balochistan. They do talk to people in Sindh, and they have no difficulty in doing so.
No, after all, Pakistan has been meeting them. But before the foreign secretary talk, I must talk to them and Pakistan must get their feedback. That is not. And by the way, I am sorry to say that India, after 26th of May, is a different India.
Let me then put it like this before I change subjects. You're happy for there to be a situation where there are no talks with Pakistan for the foreseeable future, because that's how it looks to many people.
Not the least. Not the least. The only point I am saying, when the Prime Minister conveyed his clear, unambiguous stand that we want good relationship, Mr. Sharif came here. Pakistan also needs to understand the sensitivity about India.
All right, let's then come to a second subject. Your government got a lot of applause for the way you pushed through the National Judicial Appointments Bill. And clearly, this is a feather in your personal cap as minister, because it was your bill, you piloted it. Would you say, from your personal point of view, that this was your highlight in the last 100 days?
Well, I will say the PM directed me to go ahead. Okay? The PM gave me the lead. This particular bill is pending for the last 20 years. There have been 6-7 parliamentary committee report. This is Venkachalaya Commission, Constitutional Review Commission report. This is J.S. Verma, late Justice J.S. Verma, himself said that the collegium system has failed.
The country has been wanting this bill.
Yeah.
You were the first government that got it to happen. And I'm applauding you for that.
Thanks a lot, Karan. And not even a single opposition in both houses of parliament.
But after the applause, I want to raise with you two areas of concern where many people feel that in fact you may have given wrong messages to the judiciary. And the first, even though repeatedly as Law Minister you've said that Gopal Subramaniam's nomination to be a Supreme Court judge was not rejected because he was amicus curiae in the Sohrabuddin Sheikh case, nonetheless Mr. Subramaniam personally and passionately believes that your government was out to get him. I'm going to quote to you what he wrote to the Chief Justice. I have reliably learnt that the Ministry of Law and Justice initiated an inquiry after the 15th of May 2014 with a clear mandate to find out something to describe me as undesirable. He thinks you were out to target him. How do you respond to that?
Completely wrong. Now they are elevated. I don't want to miss any comment, but many of those who have been elevated have also appeared against the Gujarat government. Very distinguished lawyer.
But did you have something personally against Gopal Subramaniam?
Absolutely. I wish to refute it completely, because the chapter is closed. But let me put the record straight, Karan Thapar. Even in the collegium system, the government has got the right of reconsideration. And in case of Mr. Subramaniam, the right of reconsideration was sought upon reasonable, plausible and fair ground.
But the Chief Justice pointed out, as you know, that whilst you have the right for reconsideration, the way in which you did it was wrong. That you in fact segregated, he objected to the segregation, and that was a second problem. But I'm not even bringing it up. What I'm pointing out is even in exercising the right to reconsideration, the Chief Justice believed you exercised it in an unfortunate, if not an unbecoming way.
Let me tell you only this, I have the highest regard for the Chief Justice, but segregation and whatever we did was based upon ample precedents of the past.
Let's come back to Gopal Subramaniam. The reason why...
But why you are making it Gopal specific?
I'm not making
Gopal has withdrawn his candidature. I'm sorry to say that. Don't bat for Gopal.
I'm not batting for him.
Looks like you are doing.
I'm asking questions on behalf of the people of India to clarify.
The people of India have known the chapter is closed, but you are keen. Go ahead.
The reason why suspicion lingers over why Gopal Subramaniam's name was rejected is because of the very silly reasons that were, I suppose, leaked to the press. First of all, it was said he'd asked for complimentary use of a 5-star hotel swimming pool. Then it was said that he'd held meetings with CBI officials when counsel of the accused were also present. And now those are issues that A, he's more than adequately answered in his letters to the Chief Justice, and secondly, they don't hold water. So people conclude these can't be the real reasons. The real reason, they say, is revenge for the role he played in the Amit Shah case.
I'm telling you again, that is not a fact at all. And since I'm under oath not to disclose, there was substantial material. That's all I can tell you. The chapter is closed. And by the way, the professional competence of Mr. Gopal Subramaniam was never an issue.
So you have a completely clear conscience over this matter?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Let's then come to a second area where people are concerned about your handling or the message you're sending the judiciary. It's your decision to appoint a former Chief Justice as Governor of Kerala. Now, legal luminaries like Fali Nariman, Soli Sorabji and former Chief Justice Khare have gone on record to say that you've set a bad precedent because this will A, undermine the way the judiciary is viewed by the public, and B, you're also undermining their independence.
First of all, I'm happy you're asking this question. This government have got 5-6 leaders who had their baptism in the JP movement of 70s. Some 4-5 years senior, some younger. They have fought in emergency for 3 things: individual freedom, your press freedom, and judicial integrity.
But
freedom.
you may have compromised judicial integrity.
And therefore, it is sacred and sacrosanct. By the way, Mohammad Karim Chagla was made the foreign minister, education minister, and the ambassador to America and England.
And Fazal Ali too.
Mr. Rangnath Mishra was the
But should the bad precedents of the past be repeated?
Not the least. Rangnath Mishra was an MP. Mr. Barul Islam was an MP.
And people criticized that decision.
But here what happened? Mr. Sadasivam, a distinguished Chief Justice, publicly stated, I don't wish to take any assignment of arbitration or commercial money making.
I don't deny that.
He only said if the government will give him some assignment, it has been given, and the matter, but only on this instance, we are trying to compromise the judiciary is grossly unfair.
Do you know what the chairman of the Bar Association of India is alleging in a letter to the president? That in fact Mr. Sadasivam came to Delhi to lobby for the post. He said it. The document is public. He's going to go to court over the appointment, he says.
I cannot make any comment, but just to clarify this position, and by the way, let us go back again. I have great regard for Mohammad Karim Chagla. He was the Chief Justice for 11 years. It is a mystery why he couldn't come to Supreme Court and become the CJI, a very distinguished public figure of India.
But what you're forgetting,
and if you make
should every bad precedent be accepted by the BJP? You're a government and a party with a difference. You're accepting the worst of the past and carrying on with it.
No, not the least. I'm only saying is this, that if we make political activists as governor, Karan Thapar has a problem. If we became distinguished jurists as governor, you have a problem. Then I cannot make Karan Thapar as a governor.
Can I quote to you Arun Jaitley, who has written in his blog on this very same issue the following: I have held a strong view that judges of the Supreme Court and the High Courts must not be eligible for jobs in the government after retirement. In some cases, the pre-retirement judicial conduct of a judge is influenced by the desire to get a post-retirement assignment. Why did you ignore Arun Jaitley's advice?
First of all, Mr. Jaitley has written and spoken, I have spoken. Surely that is there. But let me tell you, here is a case, had Mr. Sadasivam given any judgment? Let me put the record straight what is being insinuated. Amit Shah was granted bail by
But Mr. I didn't bring that up. I didn't bring it up.
You are going to say that?
I wasn't going to say that. I was simply questioning the precedent you're setting by giving a judge a post-retirement job, because it suggests that after you're compromising the independence as well as the image of the judiciary. That's what I said.
And therefore, my reply is very simple. We hold judiciary image as sacred and sacrosanct, and trust our word for that.
Can I quote to you what Nitin Gadkari, when he was party president in 2012, said about this issue? He said, any jobs in the gift of the government must not be given to judges unless at least 2 years. 2 years have passed after their retirement. Justice Sadasivam retired in April. 5 months have passed. What was the hurry? Wait another year and a half, give him the job then, so that questions aren't raised. Now, not only have you raised questions about your government, unfortunately, questions are being asked about Justice Sadasivam as well. What was the hurry?
No, I would again clarify that if he was a case that a retired Chief Justice is saying, I don't wish to take up any assignment, I think the matter should be allowed to settle.
So again, I want to ask you, you have a clear conscience about this?
Yes, we have. Let me tell you, as the Law Minister of India, let me assure you and your viewers, for us, the sanctity, independence of judiciary is sacred. We hold it in deep personal esteem because this Law Minister has suffered for that.
I believe you. The question is, the viewers will say that is the Gopal Subramaniam case and the Sadasivam case, did he do something opposite to what he's saying?
Not the least. That may be your view. The people of the country know you. I would like Karan also to be a little considerate.
All right, Minister, let's take a break at that point. Let's come back and talk about the economy. Has the government lived up to people's expectations, or is there a possibility that here some of the boldness people were hoping for hasn't actually been delivered? That's in a moment's time. Don't go away. Welcome back to Nothing But the Truth and an exclusive interview with one of the most important ministers in the Modi government, the Minister for Law, Communications and Information Technology, Ravi Shankar Prasad. Mr. Prasad, let's come to the economy, which perhaps for most people is the single biggest reason why they voted for Mr. Modi and the government. Now, people were expecting dramatic, even transformational reform. What we've got is faster decision-making, better implementation, a more responsive judiciary. And my key first question is this: is good governance sufficient to take us back to 8%?
Well, we have been elected for 5 years, okay? You are asking searching questions after 100 days, which you are entitled to. But if you acknowledge decisions are fast, they are fair, they are honest, and implementation is being done. Do you know, Karan? The Prime Minister himself monitors. It is a pleasant surprise, he giving us a ring. What is happening, Ravi?
I'll tell you why.
That is extraordinary.
I'll tell you why I asked.
Yes, go ahead.
Permit me to interrupt. I'll tell you why I asked. I asked because most economists, most industrialists will say that the big ticket reforms which are necessary haven't happened, and worse still, aren't even being talked about. And I'll give you a couple of examples. Labor law reform is simply not being talked about, except for a little tinkering at the margins. Retrospective taxation wasn't reversed. All you've promised is you won't do it again. Land acquisition law amendment isn't happening. All you're saying is you'll add to the list of exemptions. And even something like GST, which the finance minister acknowledges is critical, he consciously and deliberately hasn't set a date in the budget, and even thereafter he refuses to set a date. And people look at all of this and say, this clearly suggests that this government is not as bold as we thought it would be. It's not as bold as it needs to be.
First of all, let me reply. Haven't you seen Arun Jaitley's budget? Path-breaking in many ways for growth, for exemptions, for encouragement. Retrospective taxation cannot become the benchmark of all economic debate. I'm sorry. We have already settled our position very clear. Capital goods have risen by 23%. The economy is peaking of 5.7%. There is a great feeling of hope.
Most of that 5.7 happened while in fact UPA was in power.
Mr. Karan Thapar, when people knew Mr. Modi is coming and UPA was going, that is also a factor. The mood of the country changed. But the larger issue is, let me tell you, the way decisions are being made, investment is coming, foreign exchange is coming, the way Sensex is rising, the way the Jan Dhan Yojana, in one day, 77,000 places, 1.25 crore accounts are open.
Can I put this to you? You began by saying, haven't I seen and heard and watched Mr. Jaitley's budget? Do you know the comment made about Mr. Jaitley's budget? That is Chidambaram with saffron lipstick. That's why people are concerned. And I'll tell you, I'll finish it like this. People say this government, once it's come to power, has lost the appetite for radical reform. Mr. Modi in his speeches led us to believe dramatic changes were in the offing. Suddenly, when he's become Prime Minister, he's become cautious, he's become incremental. The sense of transformational change has disappeared. That's why people, they're pleased with you, no one denies it, but they're dissatisfied.
Let me say, Karan,
they're dissatisfied,
Karan,
they're disappointed.
Karan, Mr. Modi or the people of India don't move with a very exciting pace of Karan Thapar, okay? First of all.
The economy may need you to move at
yes,
that pace.
it is moving in terms of infrastructure, in terms of growth, in terms of big ticket initiatives. Digital India, which I am monitoring, a game changer exercise in India, digitizing the broadband, every villages of India, that's what we have done. People are patient. And those who have to invest in Indian economy are also seeing with excitement. It is time Karan Thapar also be a little considerate with Narendra Modi.
My last question, it's not just Indian journalists writing in the pink papers at home, it's also foreign journalists writing in the Wall Street Journal, writing in the Financial Times, writing in The Economist, and they are the ones who determine what foreign investors do. All of them express the same disappointment. No one is criticizing you. Everyone accepts that good governance is important, but they're saying it's not sufficient. And the big ticket reforms that are necessary, so far you've ducked.
No, I'm telling you on GST, Arun Jaitley has met Mamta ji. People have to be taken on board. It is our commitment. We are following that. We cannot set a deadline and completely ignore the state's interest.
Okay.
That they bring them on board. And by the way, if we take certain decisions, say the way we took on the farm subsidy of Indian farmers in the WTO negotiations, will provoke some people into writing against. But it was in India's interest, India's farmers' interest.
Okay.
We did it.
Let me then move to an issue of great concern, and I'm absolutely confident that the Ravi Shankar Prasad sitting in front of me will share the sense of distress that I am about to express to you. It's the statements and comments coming out from UP by many of your leaders which are creating communal passion. They're stirring communal suspicion between communities. I want to ask you two critical questions. Does Ravi Shankar Prasad believe that Muslims in India have launched a love jihad to lure innocent Hindu girls into marriage so they can be converted to Islam? Do you really believe that?
First of all, let me tell you, it got very straight. My view is what the Prime Minister spoke from the ramparts of 15th of August. Let us stop all violence in case of community, creed or religious outlook whatsoever. The second, what is important is you ask about Uttar Pradesh. Karan Thapar, unfortunately in UP, the way the government have behaved, given repeated signs of discrimination, has created its own tension. You cannot ignore that. If the police behave in a discriminatory manner. And lastly...
Minister, I don't deny what you're saying about the UP government for a moment. But I'm asking a slightly different question. It's one thing to be critical of the UP government. You have a right as their opponents to be so. It's another thing to claim that Muslims are launching a love jihad to lure innocent Hindu girls into marriage to convert them to Islam. That is an imputation on the entire Muslim community.
Certainly. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. Muslims are as much part of India, proud India, and when Modi government says Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, it includes everyone. Let me tell you.
I'm glad to hear you say that. Can I ask you one other question then? I want to quote to you what Lakshmikant Bajpai, your president in UP, said about rape. Clearly alluding to Muslims, he says, have they got the certificate to rape girls because they belong to a particular religion? And then he adds, 99.99, mark that, sir, 99.99% of the accused are Muslims. And I ask you, is it acceptable for your party's BJP UP president to speak like this of Muslims?
Well, I don't know where he was spoken. I'll have to check it up, to be very frank to you.
Indian Express, 24th of August.
But let me tell you only one thing. In certain cases, there are very plausible grounds for apprehension. In case of Ranchi, somewhere in Meerut, it was important for the police to dispel those doubts.
But those are one or two cases. You can't blame the community as a whole.
Surely not blaming, but you cannot say the apprehensions is absolutely foundational.
But 99.99% of the accused are Muslims.
I don't wish to join issues. I can only tell you, India today has travelled far and behind, much far. All these considerations, let us look towards India with hope.
You know, you mentioned a moment ago that you go by what the Prime Minister said from the ramparts of the Red Fort, and he got a lot of applause, and deservedly so, for his passionate appeal for communal harmony, brotherliness, togetherness. He asked the country for a 10-year moratorium on communal and caste strife. And people therefore say, why is he silent when Lakshmikant Bajpai, and sadly not just Lakshmikant Bajpai, Yogi Adityanath, Kalraj Mishra speak out in this way?
No,
why is the PM silent?
My grievance with you is only this. While saying so, you are becoming completely oblivious of the naked communal politics of the UP government led by Samajwadi Party and the way the administration is doing a biased, mala fide discrimination against people of majority community. You cannot ignore that. I'm sorry to say that.
I said earlier, I'm repeating again, I accept the case you're making against
therefore,
the UP government.
I'm only saying what is happening in UP.
But just a moment. What I'm talking about is not the UP government. I'm talking about Muslims, ordinary Muslims, citizens of India. The people for whom Mr. Modi was appealing for communal harmony. And when Mr. Modi is silent, after Yogi Adityanath, Kalraj Mishra, Lakshmikant Bajpai speak, people have only two questions to ask. They say, did Mr. Modi not mean what he said at the Red Fort? Or is the BJP speaking deliberately in two voices?
The reply is this, Karan Thapar. BJP is ruling in many states of India. Don't we have 9 Roman Catholic MLAs in Goa? The way Shivraj Singh Chauhan is working, the way Raman Singh is working, the way Vasudha Raje is working.
But you didn't have a single Muslim candidate in this
that is a larger issue.
And in Gujarat, for 3 elections, he's never fielded a Muslim candidate. 3 elections, he's never fielded a Muslim candidate.
I'm sorry, that is a longer debate we have done in the past. We'll do it again. The Muslims are happy in the major states where BJP is ruling as government. The Muslims are happy in India, where Shri Narendra Modi is ruling. If Karan Thapar has always an apprehension against Narendra Modi, I cannot help that. I'm sorry.
My last question on this. On Thursday, Al-Qaeda issued a chilling 55-minute video calling on Indian Muslims to take up jihad. Now, you know and I know, Indian Muslims have never responded to Al-Qaeda. But my fear is that with Lakshmikant Bajpai taunting them, with Kalraj Mishra and Yogi Adityanath whipping up communal passions, a few, maybe many, might actually get attracted to Ayman al-Zawahiri. Doesn't that worry you?
First of all, it is a very unfair on a journalist of your stature and standing to talk like that. Okay?
It's a fear I'm raising. Many people
I'm telling you,
sense
therefore, first of all dispelling it. This is almost the same argument which some people said, if a riot happened in Gujarat, Indian people must become terrorists. No. This is not a fair argument, Karan. I'm sorry. You are very responsible. Please, and that too on a public television, you speak like that. Indian Muslims, I'm sorry to say, are more responsible than what you commented.
It's not. It's not their responsibility. It's Yogi Adityanath
and it is also government responsibility. Okay. But the fact remains, from SIMI to many other these organizations have been involved in the act of terror. We know that.
Let's end the interview the way I began. I'm going to come back to the Prime Minister again. Many people in India are not just relieved, but happy that we have a strong, assertive, decisive Prime Minister in firm control of his government. They say it's a welcome break from the past. But the flip side is this Prime Minister in danger of diminishing his ministers and becoming a one-man center of authority?
First of all, nice to hear Karan Thapar appreciating Narendra Modi after all. Long years of almost hating Narendra Modi. Wonderful, Karan Thapar. To hear good words about Narendra Modi from you.
But you're not answering my question.
My question is, the reply is very simple. He is a leader who trusts his minister. He is a leader who quashed 80 group of ministers by single stroke, take decisions. He has given us complete freedom.
Well, that's what I want to briefly quarrel with. You see, there are 3 or 4 things that have happened that suggest the opposite. A change in the appointments committee procedure means that the Home Minister no longer advises the Prime Minister, he signs on the dotted line after the Prime Minister has decided. You know, as many other ministers know...
Come on, sir, on mini bureaucratic issues, you will have a problem.
Can I finish?
The country has larger issues. Come on.
Can I finish? Then you answer. You know better than me that restrictions have been placed on who can be OSDs to ministers. You know that the Prime Minister has directly said to civil servants, you can come to me whenever you want, thus cutting ministers out of the loop. And by giving to himself the critical portfolio of all important policies, he's also ensured that when he wants, he can keep ministers out of the loop. And people look at this and say, altogether, this is ominous. It suggests that he's acquiring and gathering more and more power to himself.
Karan, I think you can pick up little better points against Mr. Modi. You have none. Come on. As a leader, he is the authority to decide policies. Why not show? After 30 years, such a massive mandate.
Are you happy for him to appoint your OSD or to object
on
to
the second issue? If OSDs are there for the last 5 years, they should not be there. That is a norm there. What is wrong with that?
None of this matters.
No. I'm only asking you, pick up better points to criticize Narendra Modi. You are a man of a lot of homework and research. Why you are not getting good points?
You're admonishing me for picking up a bad point. Let me end
because
the
there
interview.
is none.
Let me end the interview by this. Many in your party, speaking no doubt sotto voce, speaking no doubt in private, not in public, fear that Mr. Modi has a tendency to become authoritarian. Are you at all worried about that?
Not the least. Mr. Modi is fully Democrat. Let me tell you, I sit with him in the cabinet. And the way he gives us the opportunity to discuss, debate, differ and take a collective view is something to be really, something truly outstanding. But details I cannot reveal because it is a cabinet secret.
I'll let you have the last one. Now that you're smiling and laughing, a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Karan.